Help me welcome Noona.
Well, it's so great to see everybody back. First of all, I'd like to start with thanking Shume International for hosting my show today and for hosting so many shows over the years here in Crestone. Such an incredible gift that they do this for all of us. I really want to show my appreciation. Particularly to Deanna Wilpon, who was a gem all the way through. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a greater divine being to help me with all of this and everything that came up for me. Just a pearl, just so easy to work with. And thank each one of you for showing up. What a grand gift to me. Thank you so much. So, that said, there are two forms of art going to be talked about here today. My paintings, and then I'm going to be reciting some poems as well. So, in order to sort of move things along, I thought I would start with the paintings, and I think hold the comments and questions for after I've also done a recitation of a few poems, because it just didn't feel quite right to break it up. So that's what we're going to do. So here's my paintings. I think maybe I'll just say a little bit about myself and what my artistic career has been and is now. It's I know my older sister Bridget is in love with outsider art. I don't know if people are familiar with that genre. It's art done by people who have had no training, and so that's why we've got the title of outsider art. And I would like to squeeze in on that, because I barely have had any training. When I was 18 at the University of Missouri, I did some life drawing classes, which were a lot of fun. And then for a semester at the Art Institute in San Francisco, I did painting and printmaking. So that's it. And so I'm considering myself an outsider artist, in case I need a genre. So yeah, it's, I just do it, you know. I've always loved to do art. When I was a kid, I drew horses, as an item. And I would draw my sisters if they'd sit still long enough for me to be able to do their portraits. And so I just always have loved to paint, so I did. So I think what we'll do is kind of look at the various ones and just talk a little bit about them. This big one over here that is the one that Sharon Landreth and Nate Scarrett. That one is pretty interesting. It to me it feels like creation, actually. Form coming up to meet inspiration, and then it's the creation. That's sort of one way of looking at that painting, which works for me. It's one of my favorite paintings, and so I'm so thrilled that Sharon and Nate have it. This little one over here is called Starchild. That has an interesting story to it. I had painted it about, I don't know, 7 years ago. It came from a dream. I woke up and I remembered this dream, and here's my easel over here right next to my bed. And so the dream was about the woman with that unusual serpentine thing coming off her head like that. And so I spent a while and I painted that. and I took a couple of photos of it. I guess it was on my phone. And then I thought, oh boy, that is really too weird. Nobody's going to be able to get that. And so I thought, they can't be doing weird stuff. And so I painted over it. I took it down and I started painting some kind of, modern art kind of thing that never really took off. And then one day, not too long after it had morphed into the form that wasn't happening, my daughter was looking through my phone and saw the picture of that painting. She said, Mom, where's this one? And she said, I really like this one. I said, oh, you do? It's gone. And so, since she really liked it, it gave me confidence to paint it back. So I painted it back. So that's the interesting story about that one. And this one has an interesting, most of them have interesting stories. This one was also painted quite a while ago. I used to walk with two very dear friends along Spanish Creek and in other areas, and we would spend quite a bit of time. And as we would be in the woods, we would begin to be very sort of sensitive to what wasn't visible. Whatever kind of we were sensing in the environment that wasn't visible. So, and we, I did ceremony among Spanish and other people did as well. So when I came home that day from walking with my two friends, I felt like I really wanted to paint the feeling of being in the woods and letting, whatever that was, come through. Well, what happened was I mixed three colors, the orangish, the yellow, and the lavender, and took a brush and made these three strokes down the canvas. I thought, what the, this is not, but they asserted themselves and wanted to be there. And so I realized they were three beings. So I let them be there. And over time, I've worked on that painting off and on many times, and I took it out of storage, worked on it again just recently, and determined to have it here in the show. So when Deanna and Max and I were here hanging, Deanna said, oh my gosh, these are the three water spirits that Bertha Goodrow had visited her so many times. And she said even the modeling kind of quality, I wish I could have seen her sculptures, but she was sort of amazed. I said, oh yeah, three spirits, here they are. And so, when you get a chance, there's Deanna was kind enough to write up little stories about the water spirits that visited Bertha. And so I figured, well, that's what they are. They just wanted to come through on the canvas. They didn't want me to paint the woods. So that's that one. And this one, which I call Lola, and I don't really know why I call it Lola. It seems to fit. There's a couple of things about this one. It was hanging at the Bliss when there used to be that back room. I had some of my paintings hanging there one day, and Joanne Reeves and I were in there having tea one time, and she was looking at it for a while, and she said, Noona, I love that one with all my heart. I said, well, it's yours. And so I gave it to her, and John was kind enough to trade, so he gave me one of his beautiful small paintings, and I have those to trade. And the other thing about that, which really is stunning to me, is what my older son said about it when he first saw it. My older son is an amazing painter, just, incomparable painter. And when he first saw that, he said a phrase that I kept in my repertoire of phrases. And I've only used it once since he said that many years ago. I think I painted that maybe 5 years ago. But he said, "Mom, that painting is so cool it hurts to look at it." Yeah, and I've only used that phrase one other time in my life. So there's that one. And moving along, this one. This one is incredibly dear to me. This one, called Messenger, has been in the works for, what are we in, February, March? A year and a half. I first started painting this down in Waverly, Texas, where I was staying in Thomas and Colleen's house, Thomas and Colleen Hall. And so I started painting it, and I wanted to paint a painting of a light being. And what kept coming wasn't so much a light being. It was this form. The form hasn't ever changed precisely, but it was an angel sometimes, a fairy, different kinds of wings, ocean, all kinds of stuff happening in the sky, gold coming down sometimes, or one time it was very barren. It had just a dark blue sky and rocks and a dark bird, but nothing would hold. I just kept working on it and working on it and working on it. And finally, what happened is I've been involving Chinese tea ceremony. William and Barbara Howell brought back tea from China, and there's a very specific meditative ceremony that goes along with drinking the tea. And it's fantastic. It's deeply meditative, and the qi of the tea interacts with one's own qi and does whatever wants to happen in that moment. And it's very powerful and very deeply meditative. Anyway, looking in the bowl, they brought back these bowls, and the glaze on these $3,000 bowls, very, very expensive. The glaze was made with semi-precious stones crushed, and the young woman who made the glaze and the bowls calls that glaze the eyes of the universe. Anyway, I was looking in the bowl one day, and this. That was the eyes of the universe at the bottom of the bowl. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that'd be really good in that painting. So I put it in, and then I realized I'd always wanted a bird in this painting, but the bird finally came in a form that seemed right, which is more like the divine spirit, the dove, which sort of fit in with the whole ambiance of the painting. And then down here, I wanted something very alive. Whereas heretofore, it had been sort of different landscapes, far away or close or whatever. But I realized I wanted something very alive. So I started painting this plant, these leaves. And then as I painted them, I thought, oh my gosh, that's the tea. And so the qi of the tea, you can see, is quite alive. And so it's like the tea bowl. And what goes on with those of us who do the tea, we get the qi of the tea, and that's not our qi. So that's it finally came to rest. And so I really like that.
May I ask, what is the medium?
All of these are water-based oils. So after I finished that, I knew I had to paint a man and a woman. Something was coming along that was, I guess, maybe attempted more integration of masculine and feminine for myself. And so there they came, a man and a woman, standing right there. And I worked on that for quite a while. It was interesting though, at first, they weren't holding hands, but boy did they want to. So I let them hold hands. And I let her be barefoot and him be blue. You know, I call it Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, like Franco Zeffirelli's movie and Donovan's song. You know, because to me, it's like timeless. They're dressed in regular attire of our time, but he's blue, and neither one of them have a face. And the landscape in back is just really minimal. It could be, you know, Earth anywhere, really. And then there's all this light around them. So to me, it's like, I love that painting. It's like, excuse me, masculine and female energy really coming together in a kind and powerful way. So that's what that one is to me. And the last one I have showing here is called Earthship. It's an unusual painting. And what it is, to me, is like infinity, space, and a hunk of Earth floating through space with a partner somehow. But then, interestingly enough, there wanted to be a kind of a precise landscape in the distance. So you have all these different kinds of things going on. What could be seen as, you know, the shore, water and the shore, the trees or whatever. But then you have a hunk of Earth floating through space. So that's a really unusual painting, but I like it quite a lot. I think it's sort of challenging spatially to really make some kind of hunk work in space. So that's what we have. Oh, one more precious little one. This one I just started painting recently after I did Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. And this is called The Watcher. You see those eyes watching? And it started out to be, what I wanted to do was the beautiful sculptures that are made out of whalebone, you know, those kind of shamanic looking. I started trying to do that, and the eyes came, and the head was coming, but I couldn't achieve it. So I let that go. But the only part that stayed was the eyes, and the eyes did not want to go. So I painted around and came around to allowing it to just be a very simple watcher. So, thank you all. So I do hope that we have questions and comments, and, you know, but I think I'll it's kind of hard to shift gears. Do you want to have one question? It's a time element kind of thing.
Your backgrounds are so mystical. Love them.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. All right, what other note?
I see an animal's face on the earth there behind you. Down at the bottom.
You want to come up and
Yeah. This is quite an animal here.
see the two eyes? Oh, sure, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so I see all kinds of stuff in there. Thank you. Okay, we'll move along. The other art form that I totally enjoy is making poems. I have a book of poems over here that Linda and Lisa were kind enough to publish for me a while ago. And so, okay, a little bit about poems and poetry. My mother was a literature professor, teacher, and so growing up, we always had a lot of poetry in the house, and so I grew up, infused with the old greats, all the old great poets. And by the time I was a teenager and wanting to make poems myself, I was interested in the people in the late '60s, Michael McClure, Gary, all those people. And so I would haunt the bookstore at the University of Missouri and read all the poetry books. I just totally loved to do that, and started making poems myself as a teenager. So I've just done that all my life. And what you're going to find is that I just say them. It's going to look a little odd because I don't write them down and then commit them to memory. I would never do that. It'd be way too tedious and difficult. So what I do is the way poems come, I just say them. I say them into existence. They're birthed through the sound, through the voice, and a poem, a phrase over and over and over again until it sounds right. Or maybe the next day I'll be saying it and a different word will pop in. Oh, no, that's the right word. So that's how all my poems are made. And I really I had written almost none of them down. And I was getting old, and I thought, be able to remember them. And a friend of mine suggested that I make a book, and so Linda and Lito of Western Eye Press were kind enough to make a book for me. So I have a book, and so I thought I would recite a handful of poems to you. And then that'll be it, and we can have questions and comments. Does that sound good? I'm going to start with a poem to my mother out of total gratitude to her for her deep love of the written word. So this is from my mother. It's called Abundance of Emeralds. She always wore an emerald. Okay, before this. Sunlight through the windows falls on orchid leaves. Can you hear me?
Not very well.
All right. Sunlight coming through the windows falls on orchid leaves. Those floppy rabbit ears, each one with one hard line that cuts clean up the middle. It turns each leaf a desperate green. Desperate. That brilliant emerald light just moved the mountain and it settled on my heart last night. Notice things as they are. They will give you exactly what you need. The sunlight moves to cover me wrapped in a blanket on the couch. My hands were resting in my lap like winter cats. But now the left one gently strokes the right. Silk and bones. I think it is my mother's hand come back to touch her child again. Although, how could it be? Her left hand always wore an emerald. I Again, the sunlight moves and leaves this room, progressing into a world of countless rooms. Countless rooms where mothers live and move. Desperate lives will feel the light for such a small amount of time before it goes to light up orchids, emeralds, light up all the emeralds of the world. Here's what I like. No clapping or nothing. But thank you, I do. So we're flipping right along. Since I'm taking up more time than I thought, I'm gonna cut out a couple. I'm going to.
No.
There's no time. It's not colorful. This one is for all the beautiful little children who are being born now. I've seen so many of them so exquisitely exceptional. This is for this goes. They're coming, babies, children, pure as snowfall in the forest. They bring such quiet innocence into our lives. Even the thought of it will stop us in our task. We turn and look around the room at nothing, wondering. Us old ones who come out from rocks and shadows in the trees to step into a meadow of children, sunlight shining in the grass, fine as silky spider webs. We need another language to talk to them. New words, yellow words, and pink. Words that sound like laughing in the trees, have a taste of honey. When we take them in our arms, feel their breath across our cheeks, it seems to us fragrant music has come into the room, lifts us lightly in the air. All right. Now I'm going to do 3 poems, one for each of my children. I'll start with the oldest daughter. The oldest one first. Poem for Gwen. Poem for my daughter. Hi. Sorry for a little. Okay, poem for my daughter. How often have I tried to write a poem for you? But words don't come. Not ever. Driving home today through the mountains, having spent 3 days with you, I watch the aspen leaves, tiny tambourine shaking in the wind. Here and there a blue spruce stands, primitive, alone in a clearing, precisely kind. I can say this. Something of you moves in me, like water, like a river, and, like all water, drives me down to the deepest place where nothing moves. No sound, no word is ever uttered. It holds me there in the quiet of my heart, the way only a child can hold a mother. I have no words for this. There are no words for water. This one's a little brighter. This one is for my son Jonathan. I was visiting him a few years ago in his apartment in Denver, and I was waiting in the kitchen while he was getting ready to go. We were going to go somewhere. It was a mess. The kitchen was a mess. And, I was looking at the pots, and I had this thought. I thought, I wonder if I wash these pots, if they'll tell me something about my son. So, and that's how this poem came. It goes like this. Standing by the sink in my son's kitchen, the pots yell out to me, wash me, wash me. I'll tell you about your son. How he stands here, moving pots from stove to sink, scrubbing out the bottoms, washing, rinsing, rinsing, dreaming of the woman he has yet to meet, but always known. His body built for perfect union with his dream, the way our bodies dream at night of rivers, valleys, hills, and slip into the landscape of their dreams. In his dreaming, he drops a pot, lets out a little yell. Outside the window on the street, a woman walking by, the woman he has yet to meet, but always known. Here is a little yell coming from the window, and dreams a momentary sidewalk dream of two in love becoming one. So the clever pots achieve their dream of the first meeting here in this world where so many share a soft propensity to dream. Okay, and for my youngest child, Max, this one. And I won't be able to get to all of them because I want to leave an hour for us to talk. But anyway, for Max, this is called Prayer of Light. Coming home from town today, we drove into a snowstorm on the road. Max's teenage music blaring in the car. Get out of the rain, fuck you, I got nothing more to say. But coming from a voice so deeply soulful, I was surprised to hear the vocalist was only 22. We drove out of the storm into the clearing. The road in front cut across the plains. The sky was low and white. All around, prairie grasses and brush were maize and mustard colored, giving off a golden light. The only light there was, as though a magic wand reached out and touched the world, cast a golden spell on everything. This holy light felt different than the pale blue light we're accustomed to. It was everywhere, down the road, across the fields, shimmering in the air above the grass. It came into the car, on Max's arms at the wheel, his t-shirt on his face, about to change forever from a boy into a man. It made each thing about him so distinct and soft, slightly golden, enchanted. We drove on through the afternoon in that prayer of light. I could have driven on forever. I'm living, or I was living at John Reeves' house for a while, and looking out the window above the stove, you look out and you see a huge cedar tree in the center of a kind of roundabout driveway. And I was looking at it one time when the winds were extreme, it was moving, and so this poem came with that. It's called Elephants. The massive cedar tree, more like a giant bush, in the center of the driveway roundabout outside your house, is guardian protector of this home. In heavy winds, we can see it moving like an elephant. You may have seen how elephants move, perhaps in films, carrying the burden of their ancient love. They move upon the earth like mountains. Men who hug the elephants harvesting their tusks, must be given all compassion. They will suffer with the worst of us for their dark enterprise. And speaking of John Reeves, I'll do the one that I wrote for him. He was, a few years ago, he spent 5 or 6 weeks in Spain, learning how to make a flamenco guitar from the masters over there. And so he was in daily contact with his wife. And Joanne told me that one time John said that making a guitar for him was tantamount to giving birth. So those of us, many of us know what that means. So that really hit me when he said that. So this poem came from John. There was a guitar that made a man. A guitar so skilled, elegant, and quiet. It made a man to play on. Took him to the schoolyard where he played among the children in the morning. Took him to the town cafe at night where he danced so hard on the wooden floor, blood poured through the soles of his shoes, tears streamed down his cheeks, violets bloomed in his teeth, and his heart pounded like waves on the Cornwall shore. So he took the man everywhere, played him for everyone, because he knew he made the right man. Now he knew he made the man right. Just a couple more. This one I wrote to a little cyclamen that I used to have. I just loved it so much. I don't have it anymore. So it's just a tiny little point for the cyclamen. You all know what a cyclamen is?
Yes.
No. It's a kind of a flower. Has a brilliant magenta glow to it. Oh yeah. Tiny pygmy cyclamen here at my kitchen windowsill, blooming true magenta in the morning sun. Small champion of the flower world, your offering, your unimpeded glow, takes my heart each time I look at you. I know you are the only guide I need. Okay, one more. This one comes from, you'll see. Okay, doesn't have a title as far as I know. We are wolves of the forest. We are birds of the morning air. We are wind in the grass and dark river water. We are flowers that close their petals in the soft green evening light. We are storms out at sea and fire in the canyon. We are stars that sing in the rivers of night. We are birds of the morning air. All around, deep within, the world is reaching out to us to give us everything, to give us everything. From every stone, petal, leaf, and wing, a voice is calling us, wooing us, opening a door for some sweet moment when, without memory or thought, stepping through, we know that we are here and know how we are here to love this world, to love this daring life.
I'm sorry I was late. I missed the first pictures.
The
Explain. Yeah, I was just wondering, you have a theme of, this blue and the yellow kind of going, and then this one's very distinctly different. It's the red, you have a little red here, but I was curious why this one had such a different feel. Yeah, you have a theme. It's really very beautiful color.
Yeah, it's
To
good.
use.
Good noticing. I don't have to answer for that.
Is the second one a Japanese or a Asian?
The little woman with the circle thing coming out?
Yeah.
No. That was her dream.
Oh, okay.
That's a painting of a dream I had.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I know it is. It's called Starchild.
Starchild?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Believe it or not, there's a second animal on the same face where he says, excuse me.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Alright, let's look at them all. See where we can find the apples.
This is the way the dog is, okay? But if you turn out from this distance, I can't see it as well. But if you look at the same eyes, there's a pussy cat going this way. Can you see it?
Yes, Nate.
Can you tell me a little more about this?
Lola?
Yes.
Do you have any specific question, Nate, or do we just ramble on? I mean, I'll do it again, but if you have something that's piquing your interest.
No, it's like a free form thing, it looks like. With the darkness of the blue, it's got a sparkle. It's almost like something in the moon going both ways.
Yeah.
Luminosity of it is interesting. Speak about that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It has kind of a context of something is giving birth. Birth is happening tonight, precisely. It also, to me, feels totally otherworldly. I mean, we could say underwater, but not entirely. Very mysterious. And this kind of, I mean, go figure, man. You know. That's odd, but it wanted to stay like that. Very tender, and yet very kind of, like you said, infinite. It's interesting, when John saw this painting, and Joanne came back and was talking to me about it, there was something about the black. And I said, well, I didn't know why black. That was Van Dyke brown, a little bit of cadmium red, and Prussian blue. But it turns out to look totally black. And it's kind of interesting how that one takes you back in, and this one, I don't know. It's an interesting composition.
Well, it's exquisitely constructed because it's, in a way it doesn't have any form at all. In a way it has sort of an expression of form, but it can't be locked into any framework, mental framework.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty mysterious. But it has a kind of a feminine. Yeah. Similar, I mean, this one is form, majesty, a little more hidden. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that as like a pregnant woman in the front here, so the pregnancy feeling like we're looking at the side of her, and her is the divine feminine, and out of the still point of the blackness and the void, mixed with the all that is in the cosmos, giving birth to a new world in the center.
Nice. Guess you can write something up
gift of channeling lessons that come to you, and they come in a form. And that one is really shows how much you birth these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's a lovely thing to say. Appreciate that. Andrea?
This may be a counterpoint to the statement that Sandia just made. The poem about John Reeves spoke of the guitar making the man and making him right. How do your pieces of work make you?
I don't think they have anything to do with me. I mean, they come on through, you know. And that's a very interesting question because after a while, with the paintings and with the poems, after they've sat in their integrity for a while, they're themselves. You know, there isn't any more, that is exactly what it feels like, they're themselves. Right. Yeah.
Since you make both paintings and poems, does one ever inspire the other?
Well, I actually have a poem that goes with the three water spirits. I could tell you that one.
Yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, not yet. Yeah.
Except that one?
That one, yeah. There's okay. Yeah, I would go over, this was Spanish Greek, there's an area where I would like to do ceremony, and I was very interested in reading about different people's ideas of fairy world, the she, all kinds of stuff like that. I was reading about that a lot and doing ceremony myself, so this poem came out of that. When a yearning rose up in me to be among the fairy folk and the ancient ones moving dimly in the mist, I came here to this hill, gathered up the emerald air around me and slipped myself into the mist. And the old ones came rushing up to me, dark hands petting, stroking me, eagerly reclaiming one returned to them. They offered me a large white chair and went about their ways. The world beneath the world, land of a hidden sun, entered me on this dry hill. I forfeit all I thought I knew. Above, below, two worlds have come together to make a whole, a seamless world. At last, the hand fits in the glove. I never felt like this before. The wind moves in the cedar boughs. All is forfeit, but I thought I knew. Yes.
When you saw the photograph where your daughter inspired you to bring back this painting, I'm curious, did you use the same canvas?
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. I just put her right back in.
And the second part of the question is, when you keep painting over the same canvas, how do you keep it from looking muddy? They're so translucent, these pieces.
Well, you know, that's a very good question. And I think the translucence actually, when you perceive that, comes from the many layers. Wouldn't that be the case, no? Something like that?
The glazing over and over.
Yeah, over and over and over, many layers. And so something, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it, but maybe.
Yeah, that's the beauty too of where you're using the water-based oil, because it's almost like a watercolor with glazing. And that's almost, because at first you thought, oh, it must be acrylic, but no, it's not as opaque.
Right.
But your use with the watercolor oil is fabulous.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for that question. I think that's something that seems to be working.
So luminescent.
Pardon?
They're just so luminescent.
Oh.
And it is like the light going through all those layers and going down to the white ground and bouncing on that.
Oh, nicely said. I wouldn't have known how to say that. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, have you written a poem on silky or, I keep hearing that in your words and also these silky, there's another word there, I just lost it. It seems slippery and silky, I'm hearing a lot. So I just wondered if you've ever, in your poems and actually some of your artwork too, I can see that sense, and I just wonder if you've ever focused on that. No, right, yeah. So that's it, just come through a lot today, to me anyway.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's there in his voice.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. It's hard to know what's up. Yeah, it's weird.
The word soft. Soft.
Yeah. Yes, Barbara.
And for what struck me is the sound of your voice, the words that you use in your poems, and your paintings, like they're all one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. One has a certain quality.
Yeah.
Thank you for noticing that. Yeah.
And it's really good to, I've known you a long time, but I've never seen this side of you.
Oh,
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Any other comments? If not, we can enjoy cheese and crackers and wine and juice. And if you want to talk to me privately, that's fine too.
Thank you.
That's all.